I walked in there and I told her, like, hi, my name is Joan, and I want to work here. And she couldn't tell me no. I think it was just the tenacity and the drive.
My mom was a Lancome lady, but
Yeah.
I went into Mary Kay,
Oh,
so there
yeah.
was a little bit of, like, conflict in our household, like, but then we
A
started,
brand
like,
war.
stealing each other's stuff.
I may have a completely different calling and go back and work at a clothing store. You don't know, but I do know that no matter what I do it wholeheartedly and I do it with intention. I want to help be impactful.
Hello and welcome to Good Job New Mexico. I'm your host, Stacey Johnston, and today I am joined by a co-host, Marjorie Christensen. She is the New Mexico Works Program Manager here at the Department of Workforce Solutions. Hi, Marjorie.
Hey, Stacy, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me on this one. This was a fun one because we talked with Joni Ochoa. She is the Director of Cosmetology at the New Mexico Junior College in Hobbs, New Mexico. We got to virtually talk with her, which was great. Doesn't matter where you are in the state or in the world, we want to talk to you. But yeah, it was a fun one. What'd you think?
It was super cool, I love Jody. She was also really, like, personal and approachable.
I feel like I was way out of my depth when we're talking about anything cosmetology. I'm like,
Right?
that is not my realm. I'm very excited that I have 2 boys that I'm raising because I would feel really worried if I had girls. I just don't have the advice there. And, all of my knowledge comes a lot from YouTube
Right.
tutorials. That's where I'm living.
I feel like I'm that perfect example of, like, what Pinterest looks like and then what I look like. I'm the
Yeah.
perfect example of how terrible that can come out.
I love the filters but then I get sad. I'm like, oh no, my filter compared to right next to like reality. I'm like, what happened?
Right?
Should not be closer.
I
But
always thought, like, the details of it, and I always wanted to, like, make it sharper and all this, and then I
yeah,
just look grainy or something. I don't know what I'm doing with all that. It's
for sure.
crazy.
I don't know either.
One of the things I loved about Joni, though, is she was really approachable. She was somebody who kind of was able to explain it all to us and
Hmm.
really go into the details. And I thought that was super cool for not really knowing much about cosmetology because that's just not my world. I felt like I knew what I was talking about coming out of that. It was great. She was
Yeah,
awesome.
she was amazing, and I love that she told us her story, and you're gonna hear it here in just a second, but how she came to be in the education field, coming from being on the other side, working in the field, and then now she's a director with other showing this passion to other students. And John and I got to meet her when we went on a trip down there to New Mexico Junior College, and they gave us a whole presentation of their workforce development division, which has 5 departments for this, and one of them is the cosmetology. And I was really excited. And as soon as Joni came up, and John's gonna shake his head yes here in a second, but as soon as she came up and she started talking, it was like immediate energy, immediate passion behind what she was
Oh,
saying,
that's
and I was like, "I
amazing.
wanna talk to you." So I'm so excited that she said yes to come onto the podcast and share exactly why she's so passionate and how she got there. And she did a little jumping back and forth, and now she's fully immersed into the junior college, and if you're in that vicinity or if you're thinking about going to that, did you even know that there's a junior college down in Hobbs?
I
I
knew
mean,
about it, but I didn't know all the cool programs they
for
do. It was
sure.
awesome to see. Did she give you a tour? Did you get to see the facilities?
We got to see the facilities, and they were, finishing up the construction for welding, and that was really cool to see all that's gonna be in there and the new high-tech stuff that
Oh,
students get
wow.
to use and learn from. It's just incredible. Some of the other programs that they also went over was welding, automotive technology, public safety, energy technology, and a couple non-credit programs. But I mean, yeah, you can go to cosmetology and get an associate of applied science. How cool. And that's including cosmetology and barbering. So yeah, if you're thinking about it, check it out. Definitely worth a look if you're interested in any of those fields.
I'm
But
jealous I didn't get to do the tour with you guys.
you know what? We
I
can
think
go
that'd be
back.
so cool.
We can go back. Let's take a day.
Okay.
John will drive us.
Oh, even better. Even better.
Thanks, John. Marjorie, let's learn a little bit more about you. And how long have you been with the department?
Well, I've been with DWS now for almost 4 years. I get to call my new celebration on June 28th, so that's
Hey.
really exciting. But yeah, I've been with DWS for a few years. I'm part of the TANF program, so I get to work with low income families that are kind of working through stability issues and kind of getting back on their feet. And then once they are, they get to join into some of our workforce programs as well as our employment services. So it's really awesome to get to kind of see them through that transition here at DWS. But yeah, I love it here. It's a good time.
I love our department so much. And I'm going to say it a million times on this podcast, but just the work that we do and we're touching the lives of people wherever they are on this work journey,
Right.
it's incredible
Right.
and expansive of
Hmm.
everything that we do. So
I think one of the biggest things that I always tell people when they ask me kind of like why we do this or what we're here for is the fact that we're literally changing the world. And when you kind of think about it, right? I can think of, I was a caseworker in TANF. That was my very first job in this position. And when I got to come to the TANF team as a caseworker, I really got to work with a lot of different families in different situations. And I had one family who had come in and they had two little boys and they had just lost their mom. So dad was all of a sudden a single dad, didn't know what he was doing. This was a whole new world for him. He just got custody of the kids. So he was trying to jump into things and figure it all out. And it was kind of heart wrenching and kind of touching. There was a lot of loss going on, and these kids were trying to figure all that out. And when we talked to them, they were talking about a story that somebody told them on the playground, and that they had kind of talked about this other kid's parents and other things like that were going on. All these negative things. There was some domestic violence things that were said, stuff like that. And I just thought these kids went to school and they were exposed to that. That's a secondary trauma, and that can be very hard for families to overcome. But by working with that individual, we were keeping that family from going through it, right? And so when we get to work with individuals and we get to work with families, we get to help somebody kind of change that world for them. And guess what? That flows down to our kids, and that flows into our schools, that flows into our communities, right? So every time we're working with one person, one family, one parent, we're changing the world. Might be one person at a time, but we are changing the world. And the impact that this department makes when it comes to families and our communities, it's just enlightening. You don't even know the amount of things you're doing in this department till you have a conversation with somebody else. And then there's a whole new division you didn't even think about, right? The programs here are just amazing, and the lives that we get to touch. It's just tremendous what we do here at DWS.
I love everything you just said. Okay, let's can that. Let's re-record that. Let's put that out everywhere. You're also an amazing manager. And something that
Oh,
Joni talks about in this
thank
is
you.
like coming up into being a manager and not having the experience beforehand, but then she's just in it. What was your very first manager position?
Oh gosh, thinking about my very first management position, I worked in retail. Actually, I was in college, and I had to pay for school and I had to pay for my apartment and stuff. And I thought, well, if I'm going to get a discount somewhere, I want to go somewhere I like. So
Yeah.
I worked for Route 21, and I was a supervisor. I was a store manager there. And it was great to kind of come up through those ranks and get to that point. I eventually was the lead supervisor for the area, and I got to kind of work in the entire region here in New Mexico. It was New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas.
Oh,
So
wow.
I kind of got to travel a lot through different stores. It was really fun. It was a great time.
That's amazing. I don't know. That's just cool. But you have really good advice, and I think you're a really great manager, and you lead a huge dynamic team that's moving and shaking around the state.
Well,
So
thank you.
thanks for all that you do.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
We have a great team. I love our staff, our TANF workers here in New Mexico. They're always kind of enlightened on different pieces of things that I never get to see. So it's really great to travel, get to hear their stories and the different events, the communities that are doing, and all the different things the staff are kind of working on. I always get to have something. If I'm ever having a bad day, all I have to do is pick up the phone and call one of our caseworkers, and they can tell me something amazing that just happened with a participant. It's awesome.
That's so cool. If you haven't checked that out and you know somebody that might want to, do you want to give a little plug for some of your programs?
So under TANF, we have a couple of different programs actually that we work with. So we work with everything in stability levels, but that can be anything from needing high school equivalency to a domestic violence situation kind of thing, right? So we have a couple of different programs under the TANF umbrella or the New Mexico Works umbrella. We have our Educational Works program, and that works with individuals looking for a degree program. We have our wage subsidy and our career link programs. Both of those are a subsidized employment opportunity. So it gives somebody the opportunity to go work with somebody, and they don't even have to take a risk, right? We basically gave them the free labor because we're going to pay for that salary, and they get to get their feet wet and see if this is an industry they like and something they want to do. And the employer gets to test them out, right? So the employer gets to say, are you showing up every day? Are you dressed appropriately? Do you have a good attitude? Do you get along with my staff? Are you kind of grasping and understanding the concepts here? Because at that point, why would I select anybody else that applies for that position? I know you are a sure thing, right? So it also leads to that future career and placement. So our subsidized programs are really awesome. And then we also have our TANF ET program. So it's our vocational training program. So it gives us a lot of different certificate programs. And Renee runs that up here over at DWS. And that's a really great program as well. So kind of got a lot of things going on under the
Yeah.
TANF world.
Kind of a lot of things.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Marjorie, thank you for joining me on this podcast, talking with Joni, and we hope you enjoy.
Well, thank you so much.
Without further ado, here is Joni Ochoa. Hi, Joni. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for asking me to do this.
Of course. And you're joining us virtually all the way from Hobbs, New Mexico. We're here in Albuquerque, so I appreciate you jumping on this Zoom call.
Oh, you bet. The wonderful city of Albuquerque. I'm very familiar with Albuquerque myself. I love the culture of Albuquerque. I lived there for a couple of years, and so I'm very familiar with it. And I can certainly appreciate the whole vibe of the 505
Yeah.
without a doubt. Yeah.
Are you originally from New Mexico?
I'm born and raised West Texas. I grew up as a West Texas girl until 1993. My family relocated here to Hobbs. I was a 17-year-old, and it was the summer of my senior year of high school.
When they moved you? Oh my gosh.
They absolutely did. Hobbs has been a lifesaver for my family. And so there's a lot of special things about this community that means so much to me. Hobbs really saved our life. And so I'm really thankful for the growth that I've had here. And I love Texas, but there's something very special about the state of New Mexico. I think it's a beautiful state. I'm thankful for Hobbs. I'm also thankful for the opportunity that I had in Albuquerque. That was great. But my calling's here for right now, and I embrace it.
I think it's a great area to be in. It's kind of that border region between New Mexico and Texas. It's a very special area. Clovis, Hobbs, all of them, right? It's just a very kind of unique place to be starting new industries and to be kind of jumping into stuff. So you're kind of in the hot spot of New Mexico, really, when you kind of think of all the different aspects that that particular region really brings to the state.
Southeastern New Mexico, it's the desert, it's West Texas, it's the land, it's the dirt, it's the community, it's what our industry, it's the oil and the gas, and there's just great things about this place. We sit on the Texas border.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, you've got that Texas, that homegrown, and then you've got the green chilies.
Yeah,
I think there's a question later on the list regarding that,
there
correct?
is. But I'm sure you weren't thinking all of that when your parents said, "Guess where we're moving?"
It was very quick how we moved to Hobbs from Levelland. I grew up in a small community in Levelland, lively Levelland, and it was very quick how that Hobbs even came to be.
Hmm.
So I'll never forget that special day. It was tremendous. It happened in a 2-week period for us.
Was moving to New Mexico kind of what brought you into the cosmetology world, or was that something you always wanted to do?
I have a really unique story, and I'll share this with you. And I was just born with shears in my hand. That's my talent. Some would say as an artist, it's in my blood. When I was actually 14, I had a best friend that had gone through a high school program of cosmetology. She was a few years older than I am, and she's still my very best friend till this day. But she was already working in a salon right out of high school. The purpose of high school, cosmetology programs are to set students up for success in that respect. And so I had the opportunity at 14 because I was always with her. I got to work in a salon and I started to learn what it was to build a business. I started to learn what it was to schedule. So I actually worked for her for free, and my pay was getting my hair sunblitzed. I had gel nails. And so here I am at 14 years old, cleaning nail polish bottles, sweeping up hair, washing perm rods, putting towels in a washing machine. And little did I know at that time how impactful it was for me. And so coming over to Hobbs, I always just knew hair, and I have a sister and family. And so playing with hair and makeup, and it would just finally became a thing like, hey, you've got to go to school and you've got to do this. And so I was married. I was not a mother yet. And so at that time, my ex-husband and we had the opportunity for me to go to school and spend the 1,600 hours in the cosmetology here at New Mexico Junior College. I'm an alumni. And so I left here with one of the greatest opportunities of my life as a young student. I was about 20, 25, 26 years old. And so I was almost just gifted clients. It was like if it had been the lottery, I would have got won money, but this is people. And so at that young age, I understood what it was to work in the salon and to work the business part of it. And I had tremendous support. The owner of the salon at that time, it was a brand new salon, and the owner, she was about 4'11", and she had these beautiful green glasses, and I love her till this very day. But I walked in there and I told her, like, hi, my name is Joan, and I want to work here. And she couldn't tell me no. I think it was just the tenacity and the drive. And so I was there with her for several years. I built a great relationship with them, the business relationship with them. And I'm still very close to them.
So starting at 14, was there anything that like was that one thing that you just loved about being in the salon and really kind of attracted you to the position?
You know, I loved the people. I loved meeting the people, and there was kind of an ongoing joke at that time with my best friend Lori. She's like my sister. She's like an older sister to me. She specialized in gels. I remember at that time the clientele she had, they'd always talk about how so sore their fingernails were, and it was just so cute getting to understand the ins and outs of how to work with clients that had small complaints and the guest servicing part of it. And so here I am, 14, 15, sweeping up hair, not realizing that as I'm like building a relationship with her in the salon, I was also building a rapport with her clients, and they knew who I was because I was like her little shadow. I didn't really know that I was working. I was hanging out and having a good time, and I loved it. I was in my element, and it was so natural for me to be there and to have these conversations with these ladies. And so, she'd get through her services super quick because she didn't do any of the talking, and I did. And so it's like here she was, I was cleaning up nail polish bottles, putting them away, helping her if she needed, like, hey, grab my book, take the money, sweep the hair, whatever it was that she needed. I was down for it. But it was just that whole vibe for me being in the salon and having those conversations and understanding at that super young age what guest servicing was. And it's like so tremendous at 14. Why was I thinking about that?
Mhm.
This is, like, such a workforce question, but did you have a work permit at 14? Like, that's what I started stressing out. Do you remember your very first makeup that you bought?
So my mom started us in Clinique. I remember I always had really great skin. I was super lucky as far as that was concerned. And so I can remember at that time being a young teenage girl, the selling point of it was like it was hypoallergenic
Mhm.
makeup. And so Clinique was one of the first makeups I started in. And then as I got a little bit older, because a mother being a mother saying, you have the most perfect face, she's like, oh Mija, you don't need any foundation. But then turning 20, I'm like, listen, makeup has been such a huge part of my life, the smoke and mirror. I absolutely love it. I love creating beauty. And I think through conversation, it's for me, it's always started within. But I can tell you this, that I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and my mother brought me this beautiful Barbie compact makeup. And I just went to town with that blue eyeshadow and pink lipstick. And I have a
Mhm.
picture that I think about, like, I really thought I looked great.
For
I was a little
sure.
girl. It meant something because it was just kind of like pivotal young moments of like, she's moving in the direction of what literally what her life is going to be.
Yeah.
And I've been opened to other things through I've been developed in the field, obviously. I've grown, I've learned. But yeah, makeup for me, it started with Clinique, then it went to Estee Lauder Double Wear, and then it was a very particular color with my eye, um, because my eyes are not brown. My eyes are they have a lot of green in them, and so the eyeliner had to be purple because of
Mm.
my eyes popped. And so through the years growing and helping people with women with makeup, we've always had those conversations of why you need to wear this because it enhances the beauty.
For
Right.
sure. Do you remember yours, Marjorie?
I think I started with I was okay, my mom was a Lancome lady, but
Yeah.
I went into Mary Kay,
Oh,
so there
yeah.
was a little bit of, like, conflict in our household, like, but then we
A
started,
brand
like,
war.
stealing each other's stuff, and it turned into, like, this weird meld of makeup from
Yeah.
random things that we had. Because I also learned my mother was into I was another one of those that's in the mall by Dillard's, like, we
Yeah.
always went in there and
Was it Merle Norman?
no. I remember they had a pink perfume bottle, that's all.
That's what comes to mind.
But it's interesting too, like, I think how makeup has changed
For sure.
generationally,
For
right?
sure.
Like, just kind of seeing what my mom did makeup-wise, what I do now, and I remember watching my grandmother about 10 years ago, and she was doing her makeup, and I was like, What are you doing?" Like, that's
Yeah.
why are you doing that, first of all? Like
For sure. Did you see that too growing up, Joni? Like, seeing your mom or even your grandmother and how they did that, and was that inspirational to you?
I can remember being a little girl and my mom applying base to her face.
Mhm.
She called it base. And I remember she used like the little cotton swab and a little sponge. And I understood the concept of base. Like I understood why she was applying it because she had dark circles. You're a little girl, but you're watching. Um, but it's so interesting to see even today in 2025 how we have gone, even the history of makeup, where how it even
Yeah.
started.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
like berries, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, I can remember just the application and probably, getting a little bit older, like the sponges, just kind of thinking like probably wasn't the best thing to use. I remember using like the talc. She had the air spun talc face powder. And again, I remember this special thing she used to do is she'd put it because I was in dance class and she'd puff it over my lip and she'd say, "Your lipstick's gonna last longer."
Oh,
Mhm.
And so now probably not gonna do that, but it's been so interesting to watch over the years the evolution of makeup application because
mhm.
Right.
now we're beating the face, we're using sponges, we're using brushes, we're using
Like, preheat it.
wands. I mean, yeah, we're using drips and oil, and I mean, it's just so interesting. But I love every bit of it. And um, here on campus in our department, one of my faculty members, he's brilliant at makeup,
Mhm.
and so I watch his work and I just think like I know what I like to do, but to see this and the artistry of the makeup application here, it's tremendous to watch. And how I think I may just be blending a little bit with a brush and he's doing a tappity tap,
Yeah.
So it's makeup is super interesting to me.
You mentioned campus, and so I mean, we've kind of talked about your history in salon and getting into that. Can you kinda tell us a little bit about your current role and kind of
Yeah.
how that's all incorporated?
What made you make the move back to New Mexico Junior College?
Okay, so this is like such a cool story. I'm in the salon, life is happening, things are starting to move in a direction for me to where I was going to leave the salon. And so I opened my own clothing boutique, which was another tremendous opportunity that I had for 5 years. I wanted to be able to cater to single moms that were curvy. And so it was hidden curve fashion and to really help women find that self of style. We'd have women come in to the store and I'd maybe like spruce up their makeup or their hair. So fast forward to 2012, NMJC reached out to me. I knew I had expressed the idea of wanting to teach at some point in my life, but then it's like almost being handed to me. And I'm thinking it's 2012. I have a boutique. I just can't really commit to coming to work as an educator. I'm not doing that in my life right now. We still had conversation, and I think that it was just something that was meant to be because I ended up coming on board here, which was the spring semester of 2013. I didn't know how to teach. I didn't know anything about how to be a teacher. I just knew that I had a love for hair and hair color and creating and sculpting and being able to like have these conversations, which for me, teaching has been so much more than just standing on a lab floor teaching a student how to cut hair. It's about fostering those student teacher relationships, right? And so having the opportunity, I really fell in love with teaching and learned how to create a teaching style. I built my own. I had some support. I had a really great dean at that time that she really believed in me. And I think that when you just connect with people, there's that special dynamic, right? And so when I still started to really understand that it was about student success and that our students were not just coming in to learn a skill set, but we were really needing to set these students up for success and really learn. I really learned at that time how to learn the student and meet them where they are. There was a time, 2019, that I headed over to Albuquerque. And so I left at MJC. So I went to work for corporate America. I had a wonderful time working for this company. And so, of course, life is always happening, right? We don't know what tomorrow holds. I was just in a place in my life that I needed to come back to Hobbs. And I made a decision. I heard from NMJC reached back out to me without going into too much detail. I was back here in 3 weeks and I came to what was a $7.3 million renovation here on campus. The other building that we operated out of for the 6.5 years that I was here was still on campus, but I knew of the new renovation. I just didn't know of the new renovation. So when I walked in to, okay, I'm back, I was absolutely floored because I thought, oh my gosh, this is such an opportunity for me. I've been developed, I've grown. I had the opportunity to teach dual credit. So then I went into the nail tech program. It's so interesting how things just work out. I did that for the fall semester and into the spring semester of 2022, the position as director came open. I gently moved into that, transitioned into that role, faced so many challenges. Um, I didn't know how to be the director, and I didn't really know that I really knew how to lead. But leadership became part of this role for me, and getting to develop my faculty and staff has been a tremendous honor for me.
Okay, so I got to ask this because I think some people might be wondering that might not have heard of New Mexico Junior College. Can you explain to us the difference between junior college and community
Oh, we had a
college?
couple of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's that I think it's really the same thing. We really just are here. We are the community's college.
Hmm.
We serve the people. Junior college, it's a 2 year community college. It's the same thing. It falls under that same purview. It's just not university, which is 4 year.
Hmm.
In junior college, I think the degrees that we offer is going to be more of the degrees that help transfer students out to 4 year to 4 year university.
What's kind of the benefit of going through like a degree program versus like a certification program? Because I think there's two different worlds on that level, right?
There can be. And so the unique thing about NMJC, our Cosmo program, is we are also attached to a degree plan. So
Hmm.
there is an associate's degree in applied science in cosmetology. And there's also the certificate for cosmetology,
Hmm.
and we also offer that in barbering. So you get the best of both worlds. I think that it looks different on your resume. The certificate course, it's like, yeah, I'm coming in and I'm going out, and I just spent $1,600 and 1,600 hours, and now I'm eligible to take the state licensure exam. The Associates of Applied Science is, now I have more of an accolade attached to me. I've taken additional 5 gen ed classes. I still am eligible to take the state licensure exam, but now I have an associate's degree from college. So I now have a college degree,
Hmm.
Right.
where some it's just like, hey, I've got the associate's degree. I made it. I did it. Let's move on to the next phase of our life.
But I wanted to circle back a little bit to something that you said regarding your career, which I found really interesting is that when you stepped into a leadership role that you didn't know how to do that at first. Did you have mentors that helped you along the way? Or I think a lot of people feel that way when they haven't previously
Right.
managed anybody. Like, sure, we've all worked for people, but when you're the one responsible now, it's a little different and maybe a little intimidating. But what were the tools that you used to help you feel more comfortable in that leadership role?
I love that you asked me that, Stacy. I really set out to listen with intent. And again, I feel like NMJC is very purposeful in the people that they have on board in leadership. And I really stopped to pay attention to who was speaking and looking at their results. And I've had management experience before, and I'm lucky for that. And I was developed in some areas. I have my strengths and I have my weaknesses. But again, it goes back to those leaders that I had that are my mentors. Like I have my former dean. She's just I say she's my paperweight because she has this really extraordinary story of her education. I have my vice president. He is tremendous. I'm so bought into him. His leadership, and he's a public speaker, and he's dynamic, and he I trust his leadership because I've seen his results. And he is the vice president of workforce development, and that's a division I'm we are part of. Um, my dean now, she's wonderful, and she's has her biology background, and she's smart, and she's of high intellect, and she just knows things. And so I listen to people, and I feel like you have got to invest in yourself. And so I've spent a lot of my own time listening to podcasts. I'm part of a leadership academy here on campus right now, where I get to chair our leadership initiative groups. And so I've been able to implement, right, the things that I've learned. So I do have my mentors. I have people that I lean on for support. And I personally feel like it's really important for me to surround myself with people that have had great accomplishments. I listen to people that something good is good happen. I always say I don't typically take the advice from someone that's not where I want to be. The people that I trust, my circle is very, very small, but there are people that I have in my life that are professionals in the medical. I have my own family. My brother, one of my brothers, he's a nurse practitioner in Texas, and his intellect is different than my other brothers, and their smarts are different. And why I trust one in these conversations and the other one in this conversation. In the professional realm, I have the people that I definitely lean on to help guide me. I'm not scared to ask questions because I'm 49 years old. The day that I say that I know everything is the day that I stop learning. And I'm not there. I want to grow and I want to continue on, and I'm growing, and I'm thankful for that, and I'm open to that. I don't want to be the director of cosmetology forever.
Yeah,
I
what do you wanna
don't.
be? What are you gonna be
Uh,
next?
I
you
was just gonna
know,
ask that. I'm like, what is the next
What
step?
is
What's
the
five
next
years
step?
from now?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 years from now. I mean, life changes at such a fast rate. We really never know. I'm still in education, like I'm still pursuing different degrees, looking at those avenues. But, if it was up to me, of course, I'd stay on board with NMJC and eventually work my way into different role in leadership and administration. I think that there is a divine order. As I said, my steps are ordered, and I know what my goals and my hopes and my dreams are without saying too much. But I do hope from some way. The joke is, I aspire to be the president of NMJC.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if that will happen, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with me working towards that.
For sure, we're
Yeah,
sending good vibes your way.
100%. Shoot for the stars. Love it.
Or, I may have
Mhm,
call in and go back and working at a clothing store. You
mhm.
don't know, but I do know that no matter what I do it wholeheartedly, and I do it with intention and
Right,
purpose. I want to help be impactful.
You know
right.
what I love is that there are so many kids out there just like you probably that are
Mhm.
in high school and they're like, "Why wait?" And they don't have to, right?
Right.
They can start a 2-year high school program for Manny and Petty. Can you tell us more about that? Because that's exciting that
Oh
you
my
don't have to
gosh.
wait.
I remember that when I was in high school, like
You
friends
do?
that yeah, I had so many friends that wanted to go into cosmetology.
Yeah,
I think it's fun, it's a fun
for
career.
sure.
You get to
And
do
if
hair and makeup
and
and
if you're
meet so many
creative,
people.
yeah.
Yeah. I've always said my hairstylist is like my counselor
Yeah,
'cause I feel like
right.
I go in there and
They probably all
she
are.
knows my life.
There is so much truth to that, Margie. The cool thing about the high school program is this: we are creating an opportunity because that's what we're about, right? We're creating opportunities for students. We're helping, having a hand in creating those opportunities. Our high school students at 18 years old are eligible to take a state licensure exam and have a license through the state of New Mexico as a licensed professional. So, in essence, we are developing these young professionals into and it's life saving for some of them.
Mhm.
Our nail tech program, let me tell you, I can't say more wonderful things about the dual credit instructor, Miss Estella Castillo. She's been here 3 years, but she learned like that. Like
Mhm.
she picked up her books, like we had conversations. It was a challenging time for us because then I moved out of that role into the role of director. And I was also like helping in that role. And then she comes on board. And so again, her learning type, she's like sees things different from how I see things, right? I'm so thankful for her. The program, like she really turned it into something that it hadn't been. And there's some things we want to keep, some things we want to start, and some things
Mhm.
we want to stop. And we took a look at all of those single things, and we're moving the needle, as our my vice president would say, we're moving the needle. But she's doing great things, and these students are leaving after graduation from high school with enough hours to go and take a state board licensure exam, their state board exams, and go work in a salon.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
or open up their own business because we give them through merited material, we give them the information they need on how to do that.
Right.
And so it's tremendous to see that. It's so rewarding to see these 16, 17-year-olds coming in. super quiet, super shy. They just maybe needed something to do. Some are like really, really like about the nails. Nails are so beautiful in 2025. I'm sure you've seen them 5 inch. They're sparkling and shining. We're creating the opportunity for these students to learn to do that and to change the projection of their life of maybe that wasn't what they were supposed to maybe that's not what life was supposed to be like for them. But
Mhm.
now it's been impactful in getting to have that handed it and changing the lives possibly for their families.
Right.
And so that is what for me moves me really for the high school. It's great to watch them. It's great watching them grow.
I think that's
Like we
such
have
a interesting concept, like thinking about that coming out of high school with that skill and ability to be able to
Yeah.
jump right into an industry,
Heck
right?
yeah.
I remember like I thought cosmetology was something you did after high school. Like it was a cert program after or something that followed. I would have never thought of partnering it with that high school experience so that you were just ready out of high school with that, like already having that.
Yeah. Why not
That's such a
jumpstart? If
super
you're
cool
already
approach,
interested and passionate, like, why wait if you got the time?
right? How does somebody get
it's
into
different
that
for
in high school? I mean, I was learning to
the
drive. I don't I'm like,
My
how
focus was
do you
driving.
get into that?
well, I know that like in our case in New Mexico, there's a liaison for the schools and the college. There's funding for it, of course. But for us, we have our surrounding communities in our county, and we take students from each high school and we cap each class at 20. So I can have 20 bodies in the morning for 2 hours and in the afternoon for 2 hours, and that's it. And in that time, I've got to get them off of the bus. I've got to get them in their uniform. We've got to get them, taught. We've got to learn. We've got to communicate. They've got to clean, sanitation, infection control. It's a must. Then you go, may have a 5 minute break, you change, and then you have to be on that bus and off campus by a certain time. And so we are working diligently around the clock to make sure that these students are getting what they need.
Okay, Joni, we have taken up way too much of your time, but we're going to take a little bit more because we want to go into rapid, not so rapid questions. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. What's your favorite go-to lunch?
Oh, I love strawberries, grapes, and cheese.
That's it. I would be
I
like,
can
I'm
get
so
behind that.
hungry.
That's a charcuterie board. That's a whole meal. I can
Oh
get
man,
behind that.
I'd be starving.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a board girl. I'm a board girl for sure.
If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
I always said I wanted to scale the pyramids of Egypt, but I'm really wanting to go to Paris, and I'm waiting on New York City.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Like move
yeah.
to or just visit?
No, just visit.
All right.
I have a plan in my head.
Can you describe your job using only emojis?
Heart, 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 clap, 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 sad face, happy face, tear, fireworks.
Great. I love it.
I love that. So what was your favorite school subject?
Choir,
All right.
art. I am not a numbers person by any means, not even pretending to be.
Do you have any pet peeves?
I don't like short, dirty, like fingernails with like
Hmm.
polish that's been like,
Okay.
yeah,
You're like immediately repainting that.
yeah.
Oh, last question. This is important. Red or green?
Some would say Christmas. Some would say Christmas, but I'm definitely green. Green chili, green color. That, yeah, without a doubt.
That's a lot further than a chili choice there. That's
Right.
very
I mean, you
integrated.
went all in, and I love it.
Invested.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you both for having me and for having these conversations. They're enjoyable. I hope to do it again.
Okay.
We'll have
This
to.
was great. This was
For
great.
sure.
I could talk to you for hours. I don't know. This will be more than like
Oh,
one podcast at that
I know,
point.
right?
yeah.
It's great to
Bye.
meet you.
All right. Bye bye. Good to talk to you.
This has been a New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions production. Our producer is Milo Koleski. This episode was engineered and mixed by John Sloan. Theme music is One Fine Day, courtesy of podcast.co. Follow the show on social media at GoodJobNM. For program funding, visit our website, dws.state.nm.us/funding. Bye.